So today, in what is likely one of my last videos of the year, one of my last, not the last, what I wanted to cover were my top 9 best grabs of the year. And I want to actually kind of twist that a little bit, because generally speaking, when somebody covers their top grabs, it's like, hey, here's a bunch of records that I spent a lot of money on. And don't get me wrong, I do that probably throughout the course of the year in these videos anyway. What I wanted to do is cover my top 9 best deals of the year. So that's kind of the that's kind of the twist there. So it could be that, you know, it's the biggest gap between what I paid and what its value is. Maybe it's the biggest percentage gap, right, between like what I paid versus the value. And in any event, these are all deals that, you know, here's the thing. A lot of us are collectors. We're always looking for a deal. We never want to overpay, and we love to underpay, right, for records. And so a lot of times in these situations, you know, yes, the seller didn't perhaps know the worth of the record, but that's just one of those things that that a knowledgeable collector that kind of knows some of the pressing details can sort of pick out and identify and jump on something, right? So I wanted to cover 9 of those situations from this year that I think are the absolute coolest, like, you know, fantastic finds. So before we dive in, as usual, hit like, hit subscribe, follow me on Instagram at what_can_brown, and we'll get into it. So what I wanted to do is actually cover these in descending order based on the price that I paid, right? So this first one I'm going to cover really quickly because I did a whole video on this back in, like, I don't know, September, October or something. But this was not only one of the most expensive records that I purchased over the entire year, but also one of the biggest, I'm sure the biggest gap between what I paid and what it's worth. And that is Lee Morgan's Volume 2. This is catalog number 1541 on Blue Note. So a couple of particulars about this thing. It has the framed cover, which is a little almost imprint along the edges. It has the Lexington address down here, which is another indicator of it being an original pressing. And then when it comes to taking actually a look at the vinyl, see if I can do this without touching the surface. What you can see here is that this is the Lexington address. It happens to be on both sides, deep groove, etched RVG, the Plastolite ear. Also the flat edge. So all indications of a first pressing. And in the video that I previously created, what I reference is that I found this in a actual physical store, which less and less is happening to me. I don't usually find really nice stuff like this in a store. Typically you see it going for, you know, high prices online. But I saw this in a store in Philadelphia, and it was listed for $300. And it was an easy grab for me. I happened to be traveling when I came upon it. In fact, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to link to the video so that you can go check out the full story if that's something that you're interested in. But anyway, for the sake of brevity and because we have 9 to get through, this is one that, like I said, cost me $300. And based on the condition of this thing, which really doesn't have a mark on it, I would guess that I think a conservative estimate would be like $1,800. It could be as much as, say, $2,500. I think it depends on having the right bidders at the table on the right day, etc. And who knows, it could possibly go for more. I know that it has in the past, but you know, that's kind of my assessment. And so yes, I did spend $300 on this record, and that probably is the most that I spent on any. In fact, I think it is the most that I spent on any record this calendar year, and yet it was an easy decision to me because of that price gap. And here's the thing, also because I love Lee Morgan and I love this record. All right, so number 2 is another Blue Note, and this was also another find in a store. So this is kind of an interesting situation where I think only 2 out of the 9 that I'm covering I actually got in a physical store. The rest were on eBay. So it's interesting anyway that the most money that I spent was actually in a physical store. So this title is Grant Green's Idle Moments, also on the Blue Note label. This is a mono pressing, which I think is pretty exciting. So I spent $50 on this, and you may say, gosh, like that's crazy for an original. Well, it's not quite an original. So a couple of things about this. What you don't see on the back are the Black Note label right here, which would be an indication of a sort of late Liberty or even United Artists pressing. And then more importantly, right, with these is what does the label look like? And so what you can see, independent of some writing on it, is that this is the New York USA label, which is correct for an original pressing. The difference here is that while this has the Van Gelder stamp, it does not have the ear. So this is not an original pressing, but it is a second pressing. And here's the thing, I actually had an original pressing, but my copy was in like VG-, and this is just really clean. And I'm super excited to have a Van Gelder pressing of Idle Moments that I can play and really enjoy. So, if I were to say what this record is worth, having spent $50, but also knowing it's a second pressing, I actually think that even with the Plastilite ear, the fact that it's a New York USA label, and because it's as clean as it is, I think that this thing could still clear $150. So, I think that this was a pretty great buy, and it's one, obviously, that I'm going to continue to listen. Plus, I got to listen to. Plus, I got to sell my other copy, right? My lesser quality original to offset the price of this. All right, number 3. So this is one that I found on eBay, and what I'm going to do is I'll include a little screenshot of the auction just so you can see exactly what was going on. So this is Robert Johnson's King of the Delta Blues Singers. This is a little bit of an unusual one for me to feature on this page because it is more squarely blues, but I like that stuff too. And I came across this one. Has a fantastic Burt Goldblatt cover. This thing is just extra clean, right? Like the cover image is beautiful. The back is beautiful as well. As far as the vinyl, right? Because that's the biggest indicator of pressing. So I guess a couple of things. One is that looks like I still need to clean this a little bit, but this thing doesn't look played. Okay, so here's what the label looks like. So what you can see is it's a mono 6i Columbia label. The other thing that you always want to look at is the matrix number, and this one actually is a 2A. On, let's see, 2A on side 2, and is it 2C? Yeah, 2A, 2C. So technically, even though it doesn't have CBS listed here or any of the other kind of indicators that it might be something other than, like, say, the very first pressing, the 2A really does mean that it's a second pressing. Or at least, what would it be? Yeah, I mean, I guess technically it would have to be a second pressing, even if they made enough in the course of, say, even that calendar year. Because that's the weird thing, is this probably was the same calendar year. It's just they printed so many of these darn things. So in any event, this record I spent $46 on eBay, and the thing is absolutely spotless, doesn't even look played. This is one of those records that's gone up in value significantly just over the last couple of years, and especially hard to find one that is, again, 6i mono Columbia with deep groove and all these different types of things. So anyway, even though it's like a very early second pressing, and I almost hesitate to say it, but it technically is, I still think that $46 purchase price. I think this thing is worth at least probably $250. I think if this was like a first pressing with a 1A or 1C matrix number, it might even be closer to $300 or $400. All right, number 4 on the list. This one may actually be a new title for a lot of folks, just because it's on the Roost label, which not a lot of people pay attention to, but also she's somewhat of an unknown singer. She died very young. Anyway, it is Beverly Kenny Sings for Johnny Smith. So like I said, this was put out on the Roost label, I want to say in like 1956, 57, something like that. And it's a little bit strange in terms of why this one is so damn valuable. Or not strange, it's just kind of interesting. So Beverly Kenny has more of a following in Japan, and in fact, if you look at the reissues of not only this title, but some of her others for Roost, as well as Decca, I think she later recorded. There's all of these reissues that are coming out of Japan, borderline nothing for reissues in terms of the U.S. So she does have a little bit of a cult following over there, and that is, I think, what has driven really the bulk of the sort of high price for this thing. So let's see. When this thing popped up on eBay, it was listed as a buy it now for $35. And here you can kind of see the cover. So this is an original pressing. One interesting kind of note, I suppose, with some of these editions, and sorry, here you can see this thing needs to be cleaned too. I only just got this in. You can see the Roost label. So one of the things that you'll notice, it does not have a deep groove, and according to Discogs, the non-deep groove version, which may actually be the earlier one, median price on this thing on Discogs is $588. So it is quite the valuable record. And again, I found this on eBay very recently for $35. All right, next one up is another Blue Note. So this is Joe Henderson's Mode for Joe. This is a stereo original, and here it is, a little bit of tape residue, but nothing too crazy. So this one came up on eBay as well, and this one was at a price of, what was it, $26. Now here's the key thing about this title, and here I'll kind of show you what the label looks like as well. So there you are, New York, USA, and all the indicators of an original. The thing with this one is that it showed up on eBay as both with the words Japan as well as promo in the title, and so I think it kind of fooled a lot of people because this is not a Japanese edition, nor is it a promo. And so, yeah, I think what they probably did is they used whatever the recommended title was that eBay had, which is probably based on recent listings that other people were using. And so it turned out that this thing was able to be purchased for $26, which is pretty crazy, because I think, in a market like today, for this record in this condition, which is in fantastic condition, I don't know. Here's the thing. All I'm doing is like almost speculating. I mean, yeah, I kind of look at Discogs and see in some situations, but this record probably is like a $250 to $300 record in this market. All right, so this next one is actually my sort of my latest one in. I just got this in the other day and was super excited, especially because of the price. So I purchased this title. This is Booker Little on Time Records. This happens to be a stereo edition. So on this record, I think it's basically just self-titled. You have Wynton Kelly, Tommy Flanagan, Scott LaFaro, and Roy Haynes. So really, really great lineup. This is from 1960. I know that Time Records aren't necessarily ones that everybody's looking for, but between this by Booker Little, there's a couple of Kenny Dorham. There's some decent ones that are worth seeking out. So this record was listed as a buy it now for $20. And here you can see, here's the label. So kind of what you're looking for, I suppose, is the white dot versus the black dot, and deep groove and such. So I do believe that this is original, although there's some like weird anomalies on some of these Time records that are a little bit confusing. But generally speaking, if you see, it's like white dot versus black dot, and I think presence of deep groove, and there's like a couple of other things though. Sometimes I think they changed up the catalog number. But in any event, and here I should have looked this up, because I was about to speculate, and then it occurred to me I don't really know what the going rate for this title would be. So this is a gatefold edition. Let's see, mono average is $200. And a stereo average Discogs price is around $100, but some of that could be based on frequency. So in any event, considering it cost me $20 and it's it's got to be worth at least $100. It's in great shape, so it's probably worth a little bit more than that. I think that was a stellar deal as well. All right, so remember, we're going in terms of descending order based on the purchase price, right? So this one was $17. This is Sonny Rollins' The Bridge on RCA. So this is a original pressing as well. It's pretty clean except for some ring wear on this cover. And here I'll show you really quick what the label looks like as well. So kind of what you're looking for in this thing is the deep groove. And this one's a little dusty as well. Like I said, I just got it in, haven't even had a chance to clean it. And in fact, it was the same seller as that Booker Little title on Time Records that we just talked about. So this one, as I mentioned, this was eBay. It was $17. The Bridge is a title that's kind of interesting, because I think that if it was on any other label that Sonny Rollins was recording on at the time, well, maybe with the exception of Verve, then it would be worth a lot more money, because it's absolutely phenomenal music. It sounds great, and for some reason, it doesn't seem to be worth as much. So I was still happy to spend $17 on this. I think these days that a fair market value for this record, even in the in clean condition, is at least 75, perhaps maybe closer to 100. So don't get me wrong, this one wasn't like the deal of the century, but still, I think it was it was just really exciting, and it's one of those that I already had one, but as soon as I saw it for this price, had to jump on it, and I'll figure out what to do with that duplicate at some point. All right, so the final two, this was actually one of the most exciting, especially because it was one of those that I paid the least for. So this is the Eastern Moods of Ahmed Abdul Malik. This is kind of like a New Jazz issue. At least it kind of follows in that series, except they had already switched it back over to the was it the 16,000 series for Prestige. So it's kind of in that space, but not really. This one actually is just a trio, but really fantastic music on this thing. And this thing is just it's really, really difficult to find a copy of. So this thing popped up on eBay for just $14. Was absolutely shocked to see it for $14. So this is the you can see it's got the yellow fireworks label on it, Bergenfield. And does it have, I think it has, yeah, Van Gelder stamped in it. Now, one of the things with a lot of these titles is that at the end of New Jazz and at the beginning of the 16,000 series, almost like everything is pressed on recycled vinyl. And some would argue, no, like you can always find an original pressing that wasn't. I don't know that that's the case for every title. This one happens to be on recycled vinyl, and I just don't know if they made enough of these using that Fireworks label to have actually multiple pressing runs. I mean, this thing is like, it's just exceptionally hard to find, and I have a hard time believing that the first pressing run was only on like nice quality vinyl. So in any event, the good thing is that there is some hiss, but it's not that prominent at all, and in fact it cleans up after like the first like half track. All right, so as I mentioned, I did pay $14 for this thing. Median price on Discogs actually isn't that much. I think it's like maybe $175. But the key thing is that lately it's been going way up in price, and actually the max price on Discogs is over $700. There's not enough of these to sell for that median to kind of adjust. So personally, I think this record is probably worth somewhere closer to $300. So pretty good investment for $14. All right, and number 9, the last one, and so therefore the one that I spent the least amount of money on, right? So this is Kenny Dorham's Two Horns, Two Rhythms. It's Kenny Dorham Quartet featuring Ernie Henry. So this is on Riverside, catalog number 12-255. So let's see, what do we have? So Deep Groove, Blue Label, which you can see right here. And just really, really nice shape. There are a couple of like very light hairlines, but nothing too crazy. So this thing popped up on eBay for $10, just $10, and it was a buy it now as well. See, that's really where I've been having the most success. It's not winning auctions. I can't even recall the last time I won an auction. It's about pulling the trigger on some of these buy it nows as soon as they pop up, and then following some of these sellers for a certain period of time to see what else they post. So that's kind of been my strategy. So was this thing a good investment? Well, I spent $10 on it, and according to Discogs here, the median value is $120 for this particular pressing. Mine's in pretty decent shape, so it's probably worth, but also has some hairlines, so it's probably worth somewhere in there. So again, I think that was a great find, and that's the kind of stuff I live for, right? Is these buy it nows that you can just kind of snap up really quick, and you don't even have to go through the process of the auction. So anyway, those are the 9 that I wanted to highlight, the 9 best grabs that I had over the year in terms of, again, that kind of variance, right, to its value versus what I paid. So, that's, I personally like to do these videos at the end of the year. I think it's a good way to close things out, and it also gets me excited about what's to come in 2024. So here's hoping to many more great finds for all of you, as well as obviously for me. as we move into next year. So thanks for tuning in as always, and I'll see you next time.